Welcome to Atlas Leadership Academy, where our goal is to offer world-class leadership to influence worldwide change. My name is Marianne Owen. I am the Executive Vice President of Atlas Leadership Academy and the Director of Marketing and Branding at Atlas Realty Group.
Hi, my name is William King. I'm a PhD candidate in business leadership and a CEO of Atlas Realty Group. Additionally, I'm a Maxwell Leadership Facilitator, Coach, and Speaker. We're excited about today. Today, we'll be discussing trust.
That is a huge topic, I think.
It's a huge topic, and one of the most important things that I want the listeners to take away from today's show is we're going to discuss 10 ways to building trust, because we know as a leader, if no one trusts you, then no one's going to follow you.
That's correct.
So the first way that someone can build trust is to, number one, recognize that trust takes hard work.
That's right.
You aren't going to automatically trust someone whenever you meet them. Just because someone is a leader doesn't necessarily mean they rate trust.
That's right.
So trust takes hard work. We know that trust must be earned. It comes from a conscious effort to walk what you talk.
That's correct.
Marianne, what do you think about that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Trust is a lot like respect, but even though sometimes respect is given based on titles, based on, different situations, but trust is something that definitely has to be earned. You have to show up and you have to, be an example and then give the example of why you are trustworthy. So, yeah, you definitely have to walk it like you talk it. And, amigos. But yes, you definitely have to be the example. It is. It's amigos. Yeah, shout out. But you no. Hold on, Jaime.
You could have kept going. It was natural.
I could not, because you got me laughing. Okay, sorry. I don't even know where I was, but I laughed a lot. So yes, trust has to be earned. You must walk the walk, talk the talk, and do what needs to be done in order to have people trust you.
Right. And some people believe that trust is not even worth it, because once you're in business together, it's like, okay, you're going to trust me to do my job, and then you're going to do your job, and we're going to go on and we're going to make the company profitable. However, what happens when trust is lost? Because it can be quite difficult to recover, right?
Ooh. Well, I think it kind of depends on the situation and the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But when trust is lost, you really have to really look at the situation and say, is this worth repairing?
Right.
Depends on how bad the infraction was. If it's not worth repairing, then maybe it's just best to go your separate ways.
Cut ways and...
Cut your losses, cut ties, and then just move on with your life. But if it's worth repairing, if it's worth rebuilding, then you have to put in the work and the effort. And
Right.
That starts with being transparent, starts with being honest, setting proper boundaries, rules, and things like that everyone must adhere to. And then everybody being accountable to each other.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, being accountable, because that's how you build that trust. Checking in even when before maybe you didn't check in. Being extra communicative if you were just kind of communicative before. Like, you've got to go above and beyond when you're rebuilding that foundation of trust.
Right. I'm still stuck on the first way to build trust, and it says to recognize that trust takes hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ultimately, I believe that trust is a decision.
Yes.
Before trusting someone, you have to ultimately decide, can I trust this person? Right?
Yeah.
Now, how hard is that a decision to make? We're talking about in your professional life and personal life.
I think people know.
Mm-hmm.
I think, depends on how intuitive they are. They may know immediately, and then other people, based on their history or their past experiences, they may need a little bit more to be like, okay, what is it about this person that maybe that I can trust, So I think it depends, but I do agree that trust is a decision. Mm-hmm. You have to really think about it and then gauge it. It's not automatic.
Right.
But it is definitely give and take. So
Right.
You do have to give something, and show that you are trustworthy in order for people to trust you.
Right.
Right.
And one of the things that we're going to give, which is the second way to build trust, is being honest and supportive.
Yes.
That's one of the things that everyone can do, they can give in order to be more trustworthy. Living with integrity is such a hard thing in today's society, because we have seen social media influencers, we have seen people over the internet, online, on TVs, living a certain lifestyle, and we all aim to have that certain way of living.
Correct.
So, and this is just on a small scale.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone asks you, how much did your car cost, and you inflate the number,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lie. You know?
Right.
Just living with integrity first and foremost is going to be the number one way to build trust. By being open and honest about anything and everything, even
Yeah.
when it's difficult. I think that's the part that a lot of leaders need to understand, that when things become difficult, you still need to become honest. You still need to be honest.
Yes,
Okay.
this is I'd have to say it's a very difficult thing to really kind of get to the root of as a person who was like non-confrontational.
Right.
So I would lie to get out of certain things or tell a
You were
little lie.
non-confrontational.
Totally non-confrontational. Yes. Very shy, very reserved. I didn't always say what I thought.
Right.
And then even if I was like called out, if I said what I thought to somebody that I, trusted and felt comfortable with, and it got word back to the person I was talking about, I'd be like, what? No, I didn't say that. But that was me not being honest with myself, not being honest with said person and things like that. And so it created drama, for lack of a better word. And
Right.
I did not want to live like that anymore. I wanted to be honest, because that's at my core, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be more open. I wanted to be more, transparent, and be able to stand in what I'm saying. So practicing being honest is like a big deal, because when I was in mentorship, what they told me was, don't tell not one lie. Not even the littlest, tiniest white lie. If you don't know, just say you don't know.
Right.
You don't have the information, say you don't have the information. If you feel like you're going to lie and don't have anything else to say, don't say anything. But always strive until you can get to that point to where you can tell the truth. So it was like putting it in practice, and it was a challenge at first, because I didn't realize how much I lied about everything. It was ridiculous. I was like the littlest things. I was like, wow. So it made me really think and take a step back. And it's like, wow, even the smallest things I would lie about. So I was like,
Right.
okay. So taking into a whole account, being more honest with myself. It's like, you have to stop this. Like, this is absolutely insane. And not to be afraid to speak up. So when I started speaking the truth and speaking up about certain things and doing it from a good place, a place of love and support, because that's what my why was. Why do I want to, whatever. And it was like, well, my why in life is really to help people. I want to help people get better. I want to be supportive. I want to be that good friend. I want to be the person that people can trust.
Right.
And it started with me. So I had to stop lying to myself and then do the work on the inside. And then eventually it started showing on the outside. And so that's why I always say now, I will never lie to you, because that's the truth. That is my thing. I will never lie.
Is that the truth, or are you lying?
No, that's the truth right there. I will never lie. So
what do you think about, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what do you think
ahead.
about the leader who tells the truth, but in a way that people want to hear it? Do you think that's a lie?
That's not a lie. No, because as a leader, you have to be smart about your audience, and you have to be able to put things in a way that the group, the masses, can understand and can take in and digest, right?
Right.
So it wouldn't be smart for a leader if now you have levels of leadership, right? So you have maybe like a leadership team that is more privy to certain information, and then you've got everybody else that's kind of, working or, whatever, what have you, that may not need all of that information. They just need to know what they need to do their jobs, and know that everything is okay, that the company is okay, whatnot. You wouldn't tell them, we are in a massive deficit and the doors are going to close in 3 months, because what would that cause?
That would cause chaos.
Panic and chaos. And people, because they'll start thinking about their families, thinking about their, their livelihoods, right? But as a smart leader, you get your core team, you share, it's like, okay, this is what's going on. How are we going to fix it?
Right.
In order to make it right for everyone else.
Right. And that's called showing support.
Yes.
And understanding your team members. We know that mistakes are made, but it goes a long way when a leader can really take a step back and tell someone exactly what they need to know, not exactly what they want to know, or not what they want to hear. Communicating facts and being sensitive to people's feelings is a huge part about honesty and being supportive in the first place.
Yes.
So as it relates to being honest and being supportive, it's important that we really, 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 really own in on our character and own in on our integrity, and talk to people in a trustworthy, in a way that yields integrity.
Yes.
Going on to the third way to build trust is going to be being transparent.
Be transparent. Now
That's a huge topic that we kind of just hit on just a little bit.
Yeah.
And transparency, the actual word just means being able to see through.
Correct.
You know, but a lot of time most people become opaque. You know, or either translucent to what a point where we give half the truth, but not the entire story.
Yes, very, very vague, and I
Right.
feel like even that gray area will cause people to kind of like give you the side eye or not really trust you.
Right. So wait, Marianne, do you believe omission is a lie?
Do I believe omission is a lie?
Because that goes against being transparent.
Yes.
So if we omit information, we're technically lying.
If we're talking about that could go a lot of different ways. Give me a scenario.
Well, we're talking about trust.
Well, we're talking about like to the masses, like the last example we had where we were talking about, hey, we can't tell
Yeah, the
all
business is going in
350
chaos. Yeah,
employees at the business in chaos. We're just going to say, hey, we need to hit our numbers this month. It's really, really important. Whatever. That's a way that you can still be transparent, but say it in a way that's not going to cause panic, right?
Understood.
But the leadership team, the core team would know how serious it is. So it would be their job to make sure that they're communicating with each of their staff and then expressing the importance of something. Now, that's not getting into the nitty-gritty details, but it is still being open enough and to let everybody know this is how we need to rally. This is what we need to do in order to keep the business going.
Let's stick to that example. Do you think employees will work harder if the leadership team told the employees, hey, this business is going to close its door in 30 days if we don't have X amount of performance in that time?
It depends on the employee.
Yeah.
It depends, I think.
But
it's
do
a
you
lot
think
of variables.
the transparency in that information would cause employees to work harder?
In the idealist of ideal, I'd say yes.
In most ideal situation. Or some people are going to jump ship and say, hey, you guys are going underwater anyway, so I'm out.
That's right. Bye. These people over here were calling. I'm going to go see about them.
I just believe that transparency opens the door for an honest conversation.
It does.
When all the information is put out and, collaboration can take place. And then it also breeds a sense of respect,
Yes, it does.
So when people see that the company is in chaos, yeah, they may run for the hills and look for other jobs. But I think they'll respect the leadership team more, that they were open with them. And the leadership team came from a place of vulnerability to know that, hey, we are failing as a business. We want to succeed and we need your help. Instead of saying, hit these numbers and it's very important.
Well, I didn't mean it like exactly in those terms, but saying in a way that wouldn't cause like mass hysteria. So you can, that's still being transparent and still, being open and being honest and communicating the right things, but not necessarily causing people to panic.
Right. Well, that being said, transparency doesn't always mean needing to have all the answers all the time.
Right. Like you have to have every single detail.
Right.
So that goes back to your question as far as like, can you omit some things?
Right.
And then still be considered honest? I'd say depending on what that thing is. Like if somebody's asking you point blank a question.
Is the company failing?
And someone says no.
Say no.
That's a lie. And it is, that would be a lie.
Do you think it's appropriate to say, in that question, do you think it's appropriate to say, I don't know, but let me find out and I will get back to you?
It's appropriate to say that.
It's appropriate to say that?
Yes.
I think that's the number one statement that a lot of leaders can learn. I don't know, but let me find out and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
It protects your character from being a liar and you still have integrity because you may know some information, but you may not know the entire information.
All of it.
So if you want to be transparent with the individual that's asking you, then you should just say, I don't know. Let me find out some more information. I'll get back to you.
Yes.
Then you go to someone, your superior, and ask, how do I deal with this situation? This person asked me, is the company failing? We don't want that word to get out to cause chaos. So how do I address that to my subordinates?
Right. Right.
And it still allows you to be transparent and it still allows you to be honest and supportive and empathize with their feelings and emotions.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So here's another one. Number 4 is be quiet sometimes. So active listening and checking for understanding by paraphrasing what you've heard is a great way to build trust.
Ooh, let's do a quick role play real quick of active listening, how to be quiet. Quick conversation. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about my dog. We're going to demonstrate active listening and understanding. Okay. Marianne, I'm sorry, but I came to work today and my dog died, so I will not be able to do a lot of work.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know. Is it okay if I take a few hours off?
It absolutely is.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, that conversation was important to note that I had expressed the fact that my dog died.
Hmm.
So, Marianne, as a leader, she was quiet. She empathized with how I was feeling. And she was supportive as a leader and gave me the 2 hours off that I requested.
Hmm.
That builds trust,
Yes,
right?
it does.
How was that example to you, Marianne?
That was a good example. I mean, a real life example, to be honest with you. I've heard and
Yeah,
been around to where it's just like, oh my gosh, I mean, pets are family members, So
right.
when something happens to them or they get sick or whatever, I can totally empathize. Even though I didn't have the best of luck with pets, but
Yeah.
I can
Yeah, me either.
empathize. I love other people's pets though, so I understand. But with anything like family emergencies, kids, life happens sometimes. So it
Hmm.
is really important to kind of like listen, hone in on, what these people, that was terrible, but hone in on what people are saying. And so you can really, empathize, be supportive, and then that builds trust. That goes a long
Right.
way, whenever you're like, hey, I've got to, run and pick my kid up from school. He's sick. I'm so sorry I didn't finish my project or whatever. And, one of my former bosses was like, go ahead, take care of your kid. You're fine. The work will be here tomorrow.
I think it's important
Whereas
to.
I didn't have that before.
I think it's important to paraphrase what you heard to check for understanding.
Yeah. You think
Like
so?
in that. Well, yeah, in that example, maybe you didn't really quite understand why I need 2 hours off, although you heard my dog died. So you could have paraphrased and said, "So what I'm hearing is your dog passed away. You're grieving your dog, and you need 2 hours off."
Hmm.
You know. Now that's the way you check for understanding.
Well, yeah. I mean, are you using it for this example? Because I feel like it's pretty cut and dry.
That was
For
pretty cut
something
and
that's
dry.
a little bit more
That was pretty
complex.
cut and dry, but sometimes a little more complex because we know human emotions are very complex,
Hmm.
right? So as people begin to talk to you about their problems or they come to you with a situation, you want to check for understanding. The way you can do that is by paraphrasing what you have heard
Oh, yes.
and repeating it back to them to ensure that the person that communicated the message, you received it in their intended format.
Hmm. Okay.
So you don't make your own assumptions based off of what you thought you heard and what they had said.
Very true.
What's your thought on that?
I do agree with that. And you use it at your discretion, to where it's just like, yeah, paraphrasing to make sure that they understand that you understand what they were trying to convey.
Yeah.
And also making sure that the solution that you both come to, or resolution that you come to, is both agreed upon, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't disagree with that. Would it be necessary for every single scenario? Like, oh, I have an emergency, my pet died, or whatever. Maybe not. But,
Yeah,
it's,
maybe not.
again, use your discretion. But it is definitely a good practice.
I think it's a good practice to learn because we can then increase our communication styles
Yes.
and the way we communicate. So therefore, we're now achieving effective communication. So
Absolutely.
one thing I've always heard is that practice does not make perfect because perfect is pretty much an idea,
Hmm.
right? However, we practice these things to always constantly improve.
Right.
So with practice comes improvement,
Practice
and the
makes
more
improvement.
so the more we practice something, the more we improve on it.
Right. Another one.
Now
Progress, not
yeah,
perfection.
we want to reach that level of perfection, but that's something that we're going to always constantly chase because
Right.
processes and procedures can always be improved upon. Communication can always be improved upon.
Right.
Being trustworthy can always be improved upon.
Yes.
So we want to practice the little small things every single day that we learn, so we can constantly improve to make ourselves better for tomorrow.
Hmm. Yes. So the next one is be consistent. So
Well,
consistently doing what you say you'll do builds trust over time.
I will tell you, an inconsistent leader is one of the things that I completely just. I don't like to use the word hate, but I don't like it.
Oh, strongly dislike.
Strongly dislike.
Mm.
When you're inconsistent, no one knows what they're going to get.
Hmm. Right.
I'm a certain way. Well, for the first 2 weeks I've known you, you're sweet and kind, and the whole following week, you know, you're a fireball ready to go off at any second.
Hmm.
And then you go to be a crybaby the third week.
Mhm.
You're very inconsistent in who you are as a person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sounds like
And
some medication might
right.
be needed.
And that's just in someone's emotions, inconsistent with your emotions. But we're talking about consistent in your behaviors as well.
Hmm.
If you say you're going to do something, do it, and do it every single time. It can't just be something that you do occasionally. You must keep the commitments that always enhances your behavior.
Hmm.
Always. In all relationships, I'm talking about personal relationships as well as business relationships. Being consistent will be one of those things where someone can look at you and say, I know if I tell William and Marianne something, I can count on it being done.
Right.
That in itself would build trust.
Hmm.
You know? day in, day out, year after year, month over month, time after time again, it has been proven that being consistent will always build trust.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty straightforward concept. I don't know if there's anything else we want to add to being consistent besides do what you say you're going to do all the time,
Right.
you know? And if you can't do it, don't promise it.
Right.
If you have a thought about not being able to commit to it, don't promise it. It's better to say, let me think about that and I'll get back to you.
Right.
You know, or let me add that to my calendar, tentative, if nothing else changes. You know what I mean? Set the expectation that this may change and don't just 100% commit to it when you know it can't change.
Correct.
And I will say I'm the number one offender of that. I have done that a lot of times,
So
especially
glad
in
you admitted
business.
this.
Especially in business. That's what we're here
Yeah.
for. We're here to get better. We're here to better everyone else that's listening. We're here to better each other. So even myself as a leader, you know, I have a lot of people come to me and ask me to help them with something. And I'll say, yep, I got you. I'll assist you. Give me 3 days to help you out because I have a couple more things to do before then. 3 days come, I forgot. You know? So I need to make it a point for myself to remember the things that I say I'm going to do, write them down, and also follow back up with it.
Right.
You know? Because I intend to do it, but although the intent is there, the execution just became very poor on my behalf.
Yes,
You know?
yes. Forgetting is a very real thing. That's why I'm always running around with like a notepad, something to take a note because I will forget in a
Right.
heartbeat. And so I do understand when it comes to getting stuff. But and you have to know yourself,
Right.
right? And then it's like, okay, I know I'm going to forget. Let me write this down until I can put it in my calendar.
Correct.
Again, why I have like Post-it notes everywhere because, again, the memory is very short. And so the busier you are, it is easy to lose track. So, I'd always say charge it to your head, not your heart. Apologize, do all of the right things to make it up to said person if you have an infraction. But consistency is key. You have to get in practice of, managing yourself and then, executing. So,
Right. One good way to be more consistent as a leader is to always have a notepad on you. Because we know as leaders we typically have 1,000 things thrown at us at once.
so many things. Yes.
And we try to remember things on the go, especially if we're out at lunch and someone calls us and says something. We go, "Oh, I'll handle that when I get back to the office," and then you typically forget. And it's very normal to forget. We're humans. We're going to forget things.
It happens.
Our brain does not hold every single bit of information that is presented to us at every single time of the day.
Yes.
But this is why we should always have a notepad on us. We all have smartphones. Everyone does. I'm a firm believer that maybe 1% of the world don't have a smartphone. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the stats. I'm just guessing. But everyone that I know has a smartphone. So as you jot down things on your smartphone, just go back to the office that day and remember to list out the items you said you're going to do and get back to the people of which you committed to doing something for them.
Yes. Use your notes app. Use your camera. Like take a quick video of yourself.
Right.
Something to record.
That helps too.
It does. There's a lot of things that you can use to help keep
Right.
yourself accountable, and then things that you can use to help you remember your task and things that you got to
Right.
do as a leader.
So if you're old school like me, paper and pencil. Just write everything down. The next way to build trust is to model the behavior in which you seek.
Yes. So we're back to walking it like we talking.
Yep, walk it like you talk it, fake it till you make it.
There you go.
Now, fake it till you make it is not necessarily lying.
No.
When it comes to modeling the behavior in which you seek. So if we're talking about being a better leader and we say that having integrity is one of those things that can make you a better leader, you want to model that behavior because you want to be one that has integrity, right?
Right.
So we want to model that, and we do that by simply giving ourselves daily affirmations. I am a person of integrity, and I have integrity.
Right.
Constantly repeating those things. When someone asks you something, consciously think about this. Do not lie. Tell the truth, no matter how big or how small or how difficult that truth may be. Model that behavior until it becomes secondhand nature to you, to where you can say, I do not lie.
Yes.
Just like yourself, Marianne. You model the behavior. You used to be a terrible liar.
I know. No, I was a
great liar. You used to be a liar.
I used to lie all the time.
It was terrible that you were lying,
Yes.
but you used to be a liar. And I admitted that on a couple of videos ago. Like, man, I was a liar. Especially when I was late and procrastinating. Then I'll ask the professor for an extension. I was like, you know what? I was a liar.
Yeah.
But as time moved along and I realized how those little small lies can build up to a character trait,
Yes.
I had to stop those little small lies because it made me a bad leader.
Yes.
Or
the
maybe
person
not
that you don't
bad,
really
maybe
want to be.
a worse off leader than what I was.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I want within my own personal life
Right.
because number one, it doesn't build trust. And if no one can trust you, no one's gonna become vulnerable with you, and therefore you would never have those intimate relationships
That's right.
if you do not have trust. Or excuse me, if you do not have integrity, and if no one does not trust you.
Right.
You know, what's another behavior that people should model?
Oh, when they're talking, let's see. So another behavior that
In,
they should
in,
model,
yeah, in regards to trying
leaders.
to build trust. As far as leaders, number one, I stated integrity. You should try to
Yes,
model integrity if you realize you're one without integrity. So, what's another behavior?
vulnerability.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one because it's everybody is so guarded all the
Hmm.
time, and it's nice to be able to relate to somebody like
Hmm.
how I said that I lied, or when you were saying as far as like you forget. Yeah, me too, I
Right.
forget things all the time, and so that was like a small moment of vulnerability. It's like it's hard to admit that you have flaws or different character things that you're still working on, and but when you expose those things, people can relate to you, and it's like, oh my God, me too. Now,
Hmm.
how do you get past it? Well, this is how I get past it, and you build that kind of like commonality with them, and it makes you relatable. It makes you more grounded and down to earth, touchable, as you can say, because there's sometimes people where they're, when you see them in a certain way, they almost seem like they're untouchable,
Right.
but it humanizes you. It makes you, it makes people see you
Right.
as not just a leader, not just a CEO, not just a PhD candidate or whatever. They'll see you as a person. And I
Right.
think that's really, really important.
Now, I want everybody to understand that there's a lot of leadership traits that we can model because we seek to have those type of characteristics
Mhm.
within inside of us. We don't have time to go through all of them, but just to name a few, we just talked about integrity. We just talked about vulnerability. You can also work on being more dependable. You can also
Yes.
work on being on time. You can also work on your initiative.
Right. Based on
You can also work on
dependability.
your tact.
Mhm.
There's a lot of leadership traits that we can go through that you can model to make yourself a better leader. But those are just to name a few.
Just a few. We'll do that another time.
There you go. Now, to move on to the seventh way to build trust, we're going to talk about being accountable.
Accountable is a big one.
Right. Number one,
So,
I think you should always be accountable for yourself, and that'll make you a better leader.
yes.
It's important for you as a leader to acknowledge your mistakes as well as your successes.
Hmm.
You know, employees will see you as credible, and they will see you as the ability to lead, and they can follow you because they know you're a human. But
Right.
a lot of times, a lot of leaders get into this place to where they say, "I've accomplished this much in life. I cannot make a mistake."
Hmm.
You know, but that's the wrong way of thinking
It is.
because no
That is
one
a
is
trap.
perfect. It's a,
Really.
it's a
Yeah.
definite trap. No one is perfect, and we all make mistakes. So no matter how much success I had, I sold $100 million in real estate.
Hmm.
Not me personally. I'm just saying. I've sold $100 million in real estate. I cannot make a mistake on a transaction.
Right. Hmm.
Well, number one, that's not true because everybody makes mistakes. And if you make a
It
mistake, just own
happens.
it.
Yeah. It
Own it,
happens.
learn from it, and move on.
Hmm.
You know, you can encourage honest dialogue. And foster accountability by building in processes. That becomes part of the culture.
Hmm.
As it relates to accountability. What are some ways we can hold our team members accountable without abusing or bruising their ego or emotions?
Ooh. So the best way I would think to hold a team member accountable, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if I need work on this, but just saying things as they are, like sticking to the facts. I'm a very fact-based kind of girl, but then also saying it in love. It's like if our goal, reminding them of what our goal is. If our goal as a team is to do X, Y, and Z, then let's keep focused on the goal. This particular infraction is outside of our goal, and it could hurt all of us as a collective.
Hmm.
And then that's a way. So you rally everybody, you remind them of the goals, and then it's like, how can we move forward? What can we fix with this right here? What system can we put in place so this doesn't happen again? And how can we all move forward?
I like it. And in that way, we're going to go on to the eighth way to build trust, which is extending empathy to others. And that's
Empathy
going to
is
go
so
into
important.
the scenario in which you were just talking about when you bring everyone together, talk about your goals, rally your troops, and talk about how we can move past this infraction. It's important to be empathetic towards the person that had made the mistake,
Hmm.
to not single them out in front of the entire crowd.
Yes.
Because singling out individuals for their mistakes can really damage someone's pride, damage someone's ego,
Again.
damage their status within inside of the firm, and they can really, really go down a rabbit hole of depression, and
Hmm.
ultimately they'll end up leaving.
Yes.
because they feel like they don't fit.
Yeah, well, either that or it reflects badly on you as a leader to
Right.
where it's like, oh, everybody's now looking at me, a certain kind of way because I didn't express the right amount of empathy, to this
Hmm.
person or, whatever, what have you. So, yeah, yeah, empathy
Yeah.
is really important. That was something that I was sorely lacking in.
Right. Me too. I was definitely
Woo.
guilty of having a lack of empathy for a long time.
Yeah,
You know. Now, leaders who pause and imagine how their employees feel, that is a for sure way to build trust
it is.
because you completely humanize yourself and you level the playing field.
Hmm.
Everybody's on the same page. I don't care if I'm the CEO, COO, CFO, whatever C, it doesn't matter. If an employee came to me with a problem or they came to me and said they made a mistake, or if they even came to me and said they had found some success, I'm going to level myself to where they're at,
Hmm.
become empathetic with them, and empathize on their situation and either celebrate with them or understand what they're going through
Right.
and assist to help.
Yes, yes. That's amazing.
So you want to show employees you hear them and validate their feelings. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really, really important.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us the ninth way we can build trust as a leader?
So this is another real tough one because a lot of people don't like it, but
Mhm.
it's necessary to grow. Solicit feedback and take action on suggestions.
No
Now,
one likes criticism.
no.
What are you talking
One
about?
thing I will say about William King though, if you give him good constructive feedback and he hears it, he will adjust.
Oh, of
Like
course.
almost immediately, which is
Yeah.
like really kind of unheard of.
Mhm.
Some people take time and it's like, I'm gonna sleep on it for like 3 months before I do anything about it. He takes immediate action, so I'll always give him that compliment.
What about when I receive negative feedback? You
Even
give me
when
some negative feedback
even
before.
when it's negative, if you
Because a
hear
lot of
it and
times you
it's like,
disagree with me. You're like, no,
I do.
I don't like that. No, sorry, you did this wrong. And I'm like, well, Marianne, geez, cut me some slack.
I know. I
So,
know.
as
I
a-
just call
as
it
a-
like I see it,
As it relates to
But
listen,
you still
number one,
adjust, though. You do.
I never solicited feedback. You just gave it to me.
No, I do
voluntarily.
give it. I do give it. Yeah.
But I do appreciate it. I will say. But we all been here before. We took time to complete, employee engagements. And also we've heard back on different surveys where employees have given us feedback on the company.
Hmm.
It's important as leaders to take those surveys or take the employee feedback and actually take action on them.
Take action and
Yeah.
don't always expect, the warm and fuzzies like you want. For me, I always want, give me what
Yeah.
I'm doing wrong. Give me what I can improve on.
Correct.
How can I be better? And and before, I was like, I just want compliments. Don't
Right.
tell me what I'm doing wrong. But that's not how you grow.
There's
You grow in, you got to have a little adversity if you want to really push yourself to go to the next level. So there's nothing wrong
Right.
with negative feedback. Now, if somebody's talking about your mama and calling your baby, like that's not feedback. Those are insults. So let's be
those are
clear.
insults.
Yes,
There are two.
So-
So, drop
got
that.
to be
Okay.
constructive.
There are two questions I want you to remember when you're soliciting feedback and you want to take action. As you're walking through your population, I want you to remember two things. Number one, randomly ask someone, what's on your mind? It shows people you care. Okay?
Yes.
It shows people you care.
so go
and it
out
shows
and-
people that you are really involved in individuals' lives.
Yes.
Like randomly, what's on your mind?
Just go out and ask.
What's on your mind today?
Mhm.
And then the second thing I want you to ask is, what could we be doing better? Now remember, notice I said, what could we?
Yes.
Can be doing
'Cause
better.
It's a shared.
I didn't say,
thing.
what can I be doing better or what could you be doing better? Because it's a shared and common goal amongst the organization. So I want to know, what could we be doing better?
But to be honest, asking, what can I be doing better is not a bad thing either.
No, it's not a bad thing, but I think it's a little selfish though.
I mean, well, it could be and in both.
I think you should ask
like
your
maybe,
peers what you could be doing better.
Well, no,
It's a thought.
it's a thought, but I mean, I'd ask.
Because if I'm
I'd ask
asking
some
if
people.
I'm asking employees what I could be doing better, I mean I get it because I want to know from the lowest level how they view me and what I could be doing better. I
Right.
understand, I get it,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm always constantly seeking improvement, know yourself and seek improvement, I can't know myself unless someone tells me exactly what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not constantly observing myself every day. I'm just operating in my norm.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it.
Yeah, I
I
think
just
still.
don't think you're going to get the best criticism from your employees if you ask what could you be doing better, because out of the fear of a structure, a rank structure.
Correct. They
You
may
know.
not know all of the system. They may not know this. They may not know,
Correct.
how everything is supposed to be, flowing like, maybe upper level leadership or whatever. Totally understand that. But asking kind of like, other employees and things like that could kind of help you take the temperature of what's being said about you. You know what I mean?
True.
So you don't have to take every single thing to where it's just like, oh, well, I don't like the way your email signature looks, or I don't like when we do this, just kind of like
Yeah.
random things. But it does kind of help you, just kind of test the waters and just kind of see what's the scuttlebutt, because those are the ones that are talking.
Right.
Those are the ones that are talking amongst each other and themselves and things like that. So you want to always keep kind of like an ear out to where it's like, let me hear what everyone has to say.
Not just
And
your
then
peers.
not just your peers, because your
Yeah.
peers will give you constructive criticism that will help you grow and I think build to lead them and lead yourself, right? But then hearing it from, I guess you could say lower level employees and whatnot, like I said, will kind of give you more insight into the company, more insight into the team, the
Yeah.
leadership team, because even they might tell you something to where it's like they're putting it on you, but actually it's somebody else on the team and it needs to be addressed.
Right.
So
Well, I think it's important whether you ask, what could I be doing better or what could we be doing better? I think it's important to actively listen with biases for action.
yes,
No
for
matter
sure.
no matter who says it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like the point is not to go in and get your ego massage, but it's really to take action
Mhm.
and then empathize with, the employees and then understand what challenges they may be facing.
Right.
Or, see, well, maybe this could be a process improvement, or you hear from this employee and they have all these great ideas and then it's like, they might be prime for a leadership position.
Makes sense. Which brings us into our 10th point in how to build trust, demonstrating appreciation.
Love demonstrating appreciation.
It's my favorite. It's
Yeah.
my absolute favorite one.
Love giving
My
gifts.
absolute favorite thing to do as it relates to being a CEO is number one, payday, because I get to make someone's day by giving them money, and we all love money,
We do.
right? And my second favorite thing to do is promote,
Mm-hmm.
because it is enriching and enlarging someone else's life.
Yes.
So my ultimate goal in life is to help everyone reach their maximum potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that that's my purpose. And I'm dedicated towards that, and I'm driven towards that. So whenever an employee makes a big sale, I'm the first one to say thank you.
Yes.
Just today, we passed out a check to an employee, and he made his first big sale. And it was so rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated every single second of it. Not because of what he did for the company, but what that check could do for his life
Yeah.
and how it can empower him to do more.
Yeah.
So I say thank you for every single thing that an employee does.
Mhm.
If they make a phone call, hey, thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
Thank you for doing your job. Thank you for showing up. Matter of
Right.
fact,
Yeah.
thank you for believing in us and believing in our vision.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciation goes a long way.
It really does.
And I hear a lot in a lot of different industries, but especially real estate, is that most people feel unappreciated
Mhm.
from the current organization they work in.
Right.
You know,
Like it's just a corporation. Like it's cold. Like it has no feeling. It has no recognitions, no empathy, no anything. It's not human,
right?
which is unfortunate. I hate that for, anybody working in companies like that, because it's not fun,
Right.
to where you just feel like you're one in a number and you feel like, you're not valued, you're not seen. So, a simple thank you a lot of times goes a very, very long way.
It's actually part of our culture to where we learn to appreciate each other
Yes.
as leaders and as employees, to where the employees appreciate each other. If they ask for help and someone else helps, say, man, you know what? I really do appreciate you for helping me out in that showing.
Yeah.
I was busy this weekend and you really stepped up for me. I really do appreciate that.
We really do have like an amazing team.
We
with
do. We
ages.
have an
Like,
amazing
it is
team.
so
We foster
close-knit.
an
Yeah.
environment for collaboration
Mhm.
and appreciation for everyone.
Yeah.
So demonstrating appreciation is the last way that we're going to build trust. Now, as it relates to learning how to take action
Mhm.
on what we just talked about, I'm going to go over a few questions that you and I are going to talk about together.
All right. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Number one, we know that building trust comes from taking risks together.
Yes.
Okay. And being vulnerable in situations sometimes becomes stressful.
Mhm.
What are some activities that will help you get there with your team as it relates to taking risks together and being vulnerable? What are some activities you can do as a leader,
Whoa.
you know,
Ta-
that help you become vulnerable and build trust?
Man, so I mean, just observing, I feel like the biggest risk that you and the other guys took was actually going into business together. Like that is, it either works or it does not.
Hmm.
So that's a risk. But in that, you became tighter knit, you had a goal in mind, and you're constantly working towards that goal. So I feel like doing that, and then just the day to day activities in said business, real estate and whatnot, that helped you really foster a sense of trust amongst your team members. In just building trust, I guess, with, the rest of the team, I'd say, of course, team building activities I'm always a fan of. Just having things that are fun. Like I'm always a fan of, like, when companies do like field days and things like
Ah,
that, to where we're on teams and then everybody works with somebody that they may not have worked with before, but then they end up finding they have more in common than they originally thought, and that they work well together. So, I like things like that, to where it's like, oh, I never would have, had the opportunity to work with you any other time. But now, since we're on this team and doing something fun that is not too serious and lighthearted, then it will, help foster vulnerability, empathy, getting to know somebody a little bit better.
right.
Because, of course, people always have perceived thoughts, and, sometimes it just takes working closely to be able to break that, and then have like real understanding and a real connection.
Hmm.
So, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, I enjoy what you said. I think team building activities is important as it relates to a corporation, and especially when you take different teams and mix them up with different team members to learn more about someone else will help build vulnerability, will create vulnerability within team members, and it ultimately helps create trust,
Yes,
amongst the team. The more the team trusts each other, the better the organization will become.
absolutely.
So, as it relates to any type of activity, going out for a field day, just like you said, or taking the entire team out for a coffee before work starts, or taking your entire team out for lunch. We just did that the other day.
We did.
We
Yeah.
actually took the entire team and we went to a restaurant and we just ate lunch and worked from the restaurant.
Worked at
Everyone
the
took their
restaurant.
laptops and it was a very productive day. But
It
we had a
was.
good time eating, celebrating our achievements, and we still got work accomplished. But because we changed our environment, because we did it together as a team, we shared some laughs, we shared some personal stories. But at the end of the day, work still was achieved.
Yes, yes. I gotta say, as far as like food, that will always foster an environment for like team building. Like just have some snacks available, some delicious appetizers. Yeah, it's always a good time. Like me and my last team, marketing team, we used to always go out to eat. We'd have like a monthly team lunch. And those were like the best times where we get together and just laugh and talk. And we were like a really, really strong team. And part of it was because of those lunches. Like seriously.
Yeah. Now, the next question, I'm going to answer this myself.
Oh, wonderful. So let me ask it. So, what are your own emotional triggers, and what are your teammates' triggers, and have you ever discussed them?
Well, I have. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say my first emotional trigger is going to be inconsistency.
Mm.
Okay. When someone is inconsistent with who they are as a person or who they are within their own work, it literally sends me flying through the roof, right? And not in a bad way, it just says that I can't trust this person to show up and do the task in which they were set ahead. Now, my teammates' triggers, I know a lot of my teammates are triggered by leadership inconsistencies. If we say we're going to do something and we didn't do it, or if we say that something's been implemented and it wasn't implemented, or if we say that something's available, a resource is available, and it doesn't work, or the resource is not there. Now, as far as the discussion, we typically have an open platform of discussion every Monday and Wednesday as it relates to our Monday morning meeting and our Wednesday training session every single week. So having those open format discussions and allowing everyone to feel safe when they talk is the most important thing that I've implemented on my team, to where everyone now knows that just because they don't like something, they don't have to hold it in.
Yes.
They know that they're not going to be reprimanded. They know that they're not going to be judged, and they can freely speak their mind, and their opinion matters because, just like you said, when someone gives criticism, what do? I
You
fix it.
adjust.
I adjust it right away. I bring it to the leadership team. Hey, this person said this. I believe they're right. I believe they are right. Let's fix it.
Yes.
and then adjustments are made.
Mhm.
You know. Now, another question I wanted to answer as well that we wrote down was vulnerability can build trust,
Hmm.
but it can also make it easier for people to take advantage of you.
Very
Here's a
true.
very important question.
Yeah.
How do you know when it's safe to be vulnerable?
Ooh.
You know, like how do you
Ooh.
know? At some point, you got to decide either I'm going to open up to this person or I'm not. And this is on
Right.
a personal level or a professional level.
Yes,
You
it
know,
is.
so what is the real answer to that? How do you know when it's safe to become vulnerable? Here's my take. While you're thinking,
Go ahead.
here's my take. Once you have seen all 10 qualities that we talked about demonstrated, I think it's safe to become vulnerable.
Agreed.
When you have seen someone have integrity,
Hmm.
you have saw that they have been supportive, they've been transparent, they listen, they're consistent, and they model different behaviors that they want to become. They are accountable, they are
Right.
empathetic, they solicit feedback, and they demonstrate appreciation. I think on a professional and personal level that those 10 qualities that we said when it comes to building trust, once those things have been demonstrated, I think it's okay to become vulnerable.
I do agree with that. Although, it's levels, I think, to vulnerability.
There,
So,
there are levels
it
to it.
it might take some people a
Hmm.
little while to, open up and be, you know, as completely vulnerable as they're comfortable with. My thing is, I always go with my intuition, my gut. What is it? I mean, I might know immediately whether I can trust somebody and I can be vulnerable with them, or it's going to take a little time, or it's like, I'm never going to open up and be vulnerable with this person. I don't care what they're displaying. My gut is telling me no. So
So
for
you're
me,
basing this off your level of discernment for people.
I always follow, yeah, my level of discernment and intuition.
Okay.
Always.
And a lot of people have good judgment when it comes to their gut, like that good gut feeling. I got a gut feeling this gonna work.
Yes.
But some people's guts need to get gut punched
Yeah, that is
because it be off sometimes. Or most
all the way
times.
off to
You
where
can't listen to people's gut all the time.
I know,
so
because
it
it
all
could
depends.
be McDonald's. It's not. It's not coming from a good place.
Right. Now, Marianne, we know that trust is hard to build but easy to break.
Yes.
Now, as we wrap this up, and this is going to be my last question, and I'm going to ask you this, okay? And it's a very, very deep question before we wrap this up. What have you learned about repairing trust?
Well, going back,
And you can
and
relate to a lot of your
repairing trust.
personal experience as well, because you're a very, very smart woman,
Yes.
and you have had a lot of experience prior to coming to our organization. So, what have you learned about repairing trust?
I have learned that, it is difficult. It is difficult.
So that goes back to the first point in saying that building trust is hard work.
It is hard work.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
building it, but repairing it
Yeah.
is
It's even more difficult.
even more difficult, right? Because you were kind of like, and especially if you were the one that broke it, so you were at the mercy of, the person that you're trying to repair that relationship with, that trust with. And so you kind of have to not, not like make yourself, completely like, low or whatever, but
No.
you do kind of have to play by their rules just a
No,
little
wait a
bit.
minute, Marianne. You said because you're the person that broke the trust, you're responsible for repairing that trust.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that
Wait a minute. Hold
know what
on.
I
Why
mean?
not? Well, why not?
because
I mean, you did it, so
I
you got to
understand
fix
that.
it. It's
I
like
understand
if
that, but I did
broke
it,
something,
so
I
look,
need to fix it, or I'm
I did
responsible
it.
for fixing it.
I did it. I'm going to be accountable for my mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. I want the relationship to continue.
Mhm.
You know, it's up to you as well to want that same relationship to continue.
Mhm.
Right.
True.
So I think it takes you and me to repair that trust. You know what I mean?
Well,
Because
we're
no matter-
going
because,
into the
look,
thing of like, who is
Yeah.
okay? So who is initiating? You,
All
right?
right, of
want
course,
to
I have
fix
to
this.
initiate it. I
Right.
want to fix this. I
Yes.
broke your trust, and I want to fix this.
Right.
But it
It is
takes
up to,
you
to
and
the
me.
other person to accept it.
Correct. Because if
But
you,
not necessarily them working on it. They have to accept it, but you
yeah,
have to
but that person
demonstrate.
had to actively work on accepting that person's word either way.
Is
as
that
well.
work? Well, it could
That
be
does
work.
take work.
It,
Come on,
it could be work.
You've been lied to before,
I have.
right? And you've been lied to by someone that is still in your life today, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but
But to
it
think
took
about it,
work.
like, maybe
Yeah,
not.
but it took work from you to actually keep them in your life. You had to constantly think about, okay, do I believe this person or not?
Yeah. Well, I
That
mean,
takes
it's,
work.
it takes boundaries. It
Okay.
takes being honest with yourself, and it takes like knowing. So it's like, this person did wrong, right? Let me look at this person's pattern of behavior. Oh, this is a thing for them. All right. So maybe I would see the relationship as worth, still having because they have other great qualities, right?
Right.
That would be the only reason because I cut people off. you know, I do. But if they have other great qualities, if they have other things that they're actively working on, if they're trying to rebuild said trust and,
Right.
And the relationship, then it's like, okay. So for me, internally, I would be putting in certain boundaries and parameters. Like, okay, I know I can't go here with this person. I know I can't
Got
trust
it.
them with this information. However, so you get limited access. You don't get full access
That makes sense until the trust is established, right?
until the trust is established. But then,
Because it
it's
won't be
still
that way
on my
forever.
timeline to where
Correct.
it's just like, hey, I don't know if it'll ever be at a place where it was, but here's where we're starting now. And it's also, you're right, it is work on the person who is receiving the rebuilding of the trust. They have to work on forgiveness
Correct.
and then getting past it. And it's just like, all right, it's done, it's happened, can't change it. I feel my feelings about it. I'm gonna let this person know how I feel about it, and then we're just gonna go on from there. Because what else can be done?
And that's the
Right.
point I wanted to convey, is that it does take work on the recipient's behalf to make trust happen again.
Right.
Because you have to forgive.
Okay. Well, I
And you
I
have to
can
move
see
past
that.
And that
part.
takes forgiveness takes work.
But the trust, like the burden, is more so on the person that did the infraction.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You've got to make it up. Apologize.
Yep.
Set things right. Set proper boundaries for yourself so you don't, break said trust again.
Right.
Like, don't say things that you don't really mean. Don't do things that you don't, or say you're going to do
Right.
things you don't intend to do. It's like just follow all of the rules that we stated, be transparent, be supportive, be honest, be quiet sometimes, all of those things, and then repair that relationship and rebuild trust.
I love it. As we wrap up, we're talking about trust. If you'd like to know more about our offerings, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, at Atlas Leadership Academy. Please like, comment, and share, and subscribe. You can also click the notification bell for more updates. Join us next week as we continue to dive more into leadership topics and help you become a better leader. If you'd like to have our show notes, don't forget, go to our bio.